Hey, good morning. What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Tailgate, brought to you by Canton.com. Getting you guys ready for kickoff here at noon. Get your lineup set. Get some bets in there for you. Let's win some money today. Let's win some matchups today. That's what this is all about. Austin Ace here, joined by Chris Moxley and Colin Decker. Gentlemen, we've had some games played already here this week. I don't know that there was anything that notable other than LS or Louisville not looking great last night. Is JMU that good, Colin, or is Louisville maybe just not as great as we thought they were?
I think JMU had a really good game plan going into it defensively, where they just did not respect Miller Moss's arm at all. They were just loading up the box, 7-8 guys, trying to stop that run and daring Miller Moss to beat them. And outside of one little slant pass to Chris Bell that he took like 70 yards, he didn't. Like, Miller Moss did not look good. And I think that's trouble for this Louisville offense, because JMU gave everybody else the blueprint where if you can stop that rush and limit Isaac Brown's explosive plays, Duke Watson's explosive plays, then they're going to have a really hard time beating people. Like, the wide receivers weren't really getting open that well outside of like some short scheme stuff, but JMU was also all over those quick routes, like those quick one read hitch routes, things like that. Number two, that the corner looked really good. He almost picked one and took it to the house. So I would be worried about Louisville moving forward.
Chris, any worry on Louisville? Or are we saying just one game against a P or a G5 that a lot of P4 teams don't want to schedule because that's what they can do to you?
I stop me if you've heard this before, but Miller Moss isn't very good. Shocker. Like, I don't know. I find it hard to believe that he's suddenly a different quarterback just because he's with Jeff Brom. That doesn't really change who Miller Moss is. So, yeah, I wasn't honestly that surprised seeing him struggle a little bit. I was surprised he struggled to that extent.
The other, I think, happening last night that maybe we need to be paying attention to is the Maryland game because of Malik Washington. And real quick, somebody on Twitch says, do you guys talk fantasy football? We do. We talk college fantasy. So we're here in the right spot. NFL, probably not you're not going to get great answers, but we're here for college football, college fantasy. Malik Washington last night, up and down as for a true freshman. You know, another really strong performance out of him against Northern Illinois there. I've been real aggressive on acquiring Jaren Kiave-Sagapulate lately. I said that all week. I was out there shopping for him, trying to buy. Am I buying the wrong freshman QB here, Chris? Aggressively, should I be purchasing Malik Washington?
So I think Maryland's pretty terrible overall. Like, I don't think that he's set up to succeed, and I think he's succeeding in spite of it. He's looked pretty good. He won the job, which wasn't that surprising considering the only other competition was Justin Martin, and we've seen enough. Well, we really haven't seen much Justin Martin, but it goes to figure that he's probably not that good. I don't know. I've been impressed. Like, I thought week one, didn't tell me a whole lot. I'm not sure this told me a ton, but he's making the throws that, like, that is irregardless of opponent. Right? Like, those are impressive throws he's making. So yeah, I think that you can be bullish on him for sure. I thought, I mean, I'm sure we'll get into this later, but like, to compare JKS and Malik Washington, like, I thought JKS had one of the best debuts of a freshman that I've seen in like a really long time. I thought he was like he had like 5 throws last week that were better than anything I think Washington's put on tape so far. Maybe that's aggressive, but I was really impressed by. I've been impressed by both.
I can't wait to see where both of them are playing next year.
Comparison's the thief of joy, right, Colin? I mean, you're just out here comparing the two, and they're both great.
Drew Oliver's going to the NFL.
I would love it if we got Malik Washington, to be honest. Those wide receivers weren't doing him any favors last night, dropping passes. They dropped a ton of passes week one. Nobody was getting open for them. And he just hit the tight end all the time. So that sounds perfect perfect for Penn. Wide receivers not getting open, find your tight end.
He did have, I don't know if any of you guys were watching the fumble that he had last night. It was one of the more knuckle like bonehead things I've seen somebody do in a while. But
it reminded me of the one Brennan Sorsby had against West Virginia last year. It's just like, what in the world?
Yeah. You get a couple of those every season. So yeah, I bet he won't do that again. For sure. Any other thoughts on the games from last night, guys? I know we had Boise State play. They won in a pretty big score line there, but I don't know if there was any overarching takeaway there or any other takeaways from these games that maybe you thought were interesting. I mean, in terms of, I guess we skipped out of Louisville real quick there because I wanted to talk Malik Washington, but are you going to have a hard time trusting some of these Louisville receivers on a week-to-week basis? I mean, we kind of thought Colin Lacey and Chris Bell would be guys that you can roll out there and not feel that bad about it. And like you said, Colin, outside of that really long Chris Bell touchdown with the slant that he kind of just broke that tackle and went, there really wasn't a lot else that saved his night. I mean, otherwise that would have been nothing.
Yeah, I mean, Bell did get peppered with targets there. I think he had double-digit targets, like 10, I think, maybe 11. So the targets might end up being there. How valuable are they going to be? You're probably going to have to rely on Chris Bell to break something. And Colin Lacey got schemed a couple touches, a couple screens. He had like a rush or two there as well. So they're trying to get the ball to those guys, but I am worried about it. I'm probably not starting Lacey until I see it from him. And I have to imagine you have better options than Bell, but like if I have to roll Bell out there, like I will, but I'll feel a little icky about it.
Bell last night had 10 targets. That's good. 4 catches. That's bad. 83 yards and a touchdown, and 83 70 or whatever came on that one catch. So not ideal there. Chris, any closing thoughts on that?
I just think the nature of the offense is going to lead a receiver to productivity. I think that's going to be Bell. I've guessed it's going to be Bell all offseason. I think that's coming to fruition. I don't know that he's like wide receiver 1, like top 12 upside, but I do think I think you'll be happy with his performance probably more weeks than not. Like I'm not totally out on it, and I don't even like Miller Moss, in case that wasn't clear.
I don't know that anybody actually does. We've got people checking in. Let us know where you're listening from. If you can beat Scotland, let us know. Even if you can't, let us know. We got somebody from Scotland and somebody mowing the lawn. So we got
somebody in France.
And we've got somebody on the show in France. We're just,
we're international.
Chris, are you bringing over the European viewership with living over there now? Good job.
Exactly. Yeah. It's all, well, I was going to say it's all the EU, but it's not.
Without getting too far into the geopolitical, let's move on to today's games. Yesterday was yesterday. Today is today. Maybe you did start Colin Lacey, and now you need to save your week, and that's what we're hopefully here to do. Let's get into our weekly rankings, and we're going to start with the quarterbacks as we always do, guys. Quarterback rankings for week 2, as always. These are 4-point passing touchdown. You can see the rest of the 1 point per rush yard, normal pass, 1.25 yards passing, a point per reception. All the normal settings there. So just to note that, and we have removed for this purpose any players that have already played. Obviously, last week that was a bigger deal than this week. But let's dive right into these guys. At QB, our top 15 projected players this week, and I can just tell you right now, almost all these guys are projected for about 30 points. So 30 points or more. So that's awesome. That this is that's what we're projecting for all these guys here this week. Cade Klubnik projected as our top dog against Troy. Lenore Sellers against South Carolina State, Garrett Nussmeier against Louisiana Tech, DeMond Williams against UC Davis, Taylor Green against Arkansas State, Kevin Jennings against Baylor, Jaden Mayava against Georgia Southern, Joey Aguilar going up against Eastern Tennessee, Drew Mestamaker against Western Michigan, Haynes King as Georgia Tech takes on Gardner Webb, Devin Dampier, Utah has Cal Poly this week. John Mateer, Oklahoma, Michigan, that big matchup. We'll be talking about that throughout the show here. Dante Moore, Oregon takes on Oklahoma State. Austin Simmons against Kentucky. And then Caden Veltkamp for FAU, looking to bounce back a little bit this week against Florida A&M. Chris, you are the brainchild behind the rankings, so as always, we come to you first. What are we looking at here this week at quarterback? It seems like a lot of really strong options. Even into the top 30 guys here, we're going to have a bunch of guys projected right around 30 points.
Yeah, I said the same thing last week with this disclaimer that there's so many easy matchups that these are just everybody's projected for like 25 plus points this week. It's just like it's hard to have truly difficult start sits. I guess that makes it more difficult though, right? If they're all in great matchups. The one player on here that I saw and was like, I don't know that I like that where they ended up was Joey Aguilar. I actually was like pretty impressed with what he was able to do in the offense. Like I felt like he was running it and at times elevating it. They do have East Tennessee State, which is first year head coach there. I think they're going to beat him pretty good. We've seen them score like 50 points against some of these FCS teams in the past in the first half. So I think Aguilar gets his, but I think there is a route where it's like not the highest ceiling day. So that one scares me. But I think the way that the rankings came together this week make a lot of sense, personally. My
yeah, that's why it's one of those. Yeah, just right. the goal to pat around on the back. Colin, I know we get a lot of questions throughout the week on this question, so I want to ask your approach to it because, as Chris said, you get a lot of soft matchups in the non-con, more or less. That's just the nature of the beast. How do you treat these guys when there's a risk that maybe they're done by halftime, or part of they come out for like a drive in the third quarter? How do you personally treat that, Colin?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. So I kind of look at what type of offense it is, first of all. Like, is this an offense where the quarterback's going to throw the ball around a good amount, or is it more of a rush-heavy offense? Like, what do they want to do in like a neutral game script situation? So I think that Taylon Green threw the ball a lot more than I expected last week, to be honest. But Arkansas typically a lot more rush-heavy. So yeah, Green could probably get his on the ground too. So I totally understand where he's going at 5, but I think there's a little bit more risk with like that type of a situation where the quarterback isn't as big of a focal point of the offense. Like you would see a Garrett Nussmeier, Kate Klubnik, Joey Aguilar, I think will be a decent piece of this offense this week because they don't have a Dylan Sampson. It's kind of like a committee. They'll still run the ball. But I would most of the time feel pretty comfortable rolling a quarterback out there in a soft matchup like this. It's when you kind of start looking at the other positions that I worry.
All right. Wise words. Any other thoughts on these top 15 between the two of you, or do we just want to hop right to the 16 through 30 here in the rankings for this week?
I think I get why Mateer is at 12. Like, hit a great week last week. He's had a great week pretty much every week for the last, season plus. But I worry a little bit about that Michigan matchup. One, I think it's going to kind of be lower scoring. And then two, that Oklahoma offensive line is not good. And now this Michigan defensive line isn't as good as it has been in years past, but it's still pretty good. So I think if I have another option, because like Chris said, like there's so many guys in this group who are projected for like 30 plus fantasy points. Like everybody in the top 14 is projected for 30 fantasy points or more. And then the other guys behind them, 29. So not that far behind them. I think if I have another guy that I feel good about, I'm probably going to go another direction instead of Mateer this week.
It's a good point. I do think Oklahoma was missing an offensive lineman or two last week that I believe I saw are supposed to be back for this week. Mox, you are a sicko. Can you confirm that for us?
I think they're game time decisions.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the expectation is that they're going to be at least as healthy as they can. It's not going to matter.
I mean, I don't necessarily disagree, but you'll get some angry Oklahoma fans floating around if you leave out that fact for them. We've got some people checking in. We've got got New Hampshire, we've got Nevada, we've got Baltimore, Phoenix, Arizona, Michigan. So thank you guys all for tuning in here with us this morning. Hopefully we help you guys out here in some way as we go through the week slate of games. Let's look at the 16 through 30, as I mentioned, a quarterback here. Carson Beck against Bethune-Cookman. Baron Morton, and we'll talk about this because I think that's an interesting one. He's going to play, but he did hyperextend that knee last week. What's that looking like against Kent State there at 17? Thomas Castellanos, man who backed up his words last week against East Texas A&M. Owen McCown against Texas State. Maverick McIver against Toledo. Jackson Arnold against Ball State. Canton Hauser against Campbell. Colton Joseph against NC Central. Gunnar Stockton against Austin P. Bo Prabula against Kansas in a big rivalry game there as well. Marcel Reed against Utah State. Brad Jackson against UTSA. Parker Navarro against West Virginia, coming off a nice game against Rutgers last weekend. Arch Manning against San Jose State. And Fernando Mendoza against Kennesaw State. And yeah, I mean, Chris, since you're the one who does the rankings, I mean, obviously you have Morton here at 17. So, I mean, you have to take the coach's word when he says he's going to go out there and play and start and he's fine. I mean, but again, in a week like this, are you actually really rolling him out there?
I am actually starting him in spots, so I can tell you yes. 17 is aggressive, but I mean, they're 49-point favorites against Kent State. Like, what do you want me to do with the number of the data? And like, you eventually have to make a decision on how many passes you think he's going to attempt. And even when you lower it, right, like it's hard to move away from that game script, especially when the offense wants to throw the ball as much as they do. So besides Morton on this list, I think there's an interesting discussion to be had again about two players. One is Arch. I think if you drafted Arch, you probably drafted him as a top 5 quarterback to play against San Jose State. Like, I think you start him this week. There is a rumor going around that does concern me a little bit. That he has a bum shoulder. I don't know if that's like copium. I didn't hear it from a Texas person, but I've heard it, I think, twice. I don't know if that's true. But if he has another bad week, like I'm probably going to end up believing there's something to the shoulder there. The other players, Brad Jackson. Like, I think I'm too low on Brad Jackson this week. I against UTSA, and I think UTSA is fine. I think he could be like a top 5 quarterback. I really, really like what I'm seeing out of Brad Jackson. I think he's got the juice.
Brad Jackson hive right here.
How much Brad Jackson you got? What's your 80%?
80%. I think might be 78 or like. Right,
I was rounding up. Yeah, I knew you were above 75%. Yeah. So that's music to Colin's ears there. That matchup. I mean, the McCown and Brad Jackson, that has a chance for both those guys to just go nuclear today, right? I'm rolling pretty much all my UTSA guys out there, and I mean, I don't know. Do we have a favorite Texas State receiver? I mean, we can talk about that later. Chris said last week was a pretty even distribution. It seemed like.
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty close between the top 2. I think both are startable this week too. So like, I think you can roll them out. I mean, Jackson was efficient last week. He didn't pass for like 1 million yards, but it was enough.
So I have a tough choice here this week, where with Baron Morton and Arch Manning. I know we just talked about those guys, but man, I'm rolling Morton out there because like you were talking about, like it's if the coach says he's going to play, you kind of have to trust him, and they have potential to drop 60 points on Kent State this week. Morton probably going to be a good chunk of that, assuming he plays a bunch. But if you have those two options, are you still going Morton?
I think Arch is safer. I don't know. Personally, I think Arch is safer. But
okay.
I
also think there's a chance that Texas throws the well. If they had won last weekend and or Arch had looked better, I think there's a real chance that they actually do throw the ball a decent amount this week to try to get him Right.
That's kind of what I'm thinking
Yeah.
too.
That's the tough part. Because otherwise, I would say I think they're just going to run the ball. They got a bajillion running backs. That just might be what they do. Who knows?
They're probably going to be able to do both. Got to be honest with you.
Oh yeah, they can do either option. I'm sure. So that's what makes it difficult, I think, for Texas this week. Drew asks, and he asked Colin. So Drew, I'm sorry that this is who you on the panel decided to ask today. My other options of the bench are Beck and Raiola. What do you say?
Beck or Raiola. I'm not sure who the other option is here.
I don't see a prior option in here.
I don't either. But out of those two, I would go Raiola. Raiola against Akron. They probably run the ball a lot against Akron, to be honest. But I feel like that Iowa State game is just going to be a rock fight. I think the receivers for Beck have been kind of disappointing right now. Like Townsend and Sowell were the guys we were expecting, and now it's Iskildarian or Iskildeen or something like that.
Why are you saying like it's a Star Wars name? Iskildarian Mandu. Yes, that's their starting receiver. Come on, Colin. Come on.
Well, I'm just saying, like, I don't know how to pronounce that guy's name, but like not the guy we were expecting. And then two tight ends in Brahmer and Burkle. So like, how much passing volume is Beck going to have this week against Iowa? I would lean Raiola between those two.
The question was, would you start them above Mateer? The answer for me is
over Mateer?
No. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no. I would go with Mateer over both of them. Yeah.
I thought, not to totally derail the conversation, I thought Raiola looks not good. Well, yeah, I don't know that he's the guy. I mean, he's the guy for Nebraska. But, like, I don't know that he's like the guy. Like,
did you not see all those clips of him comparing him to Patrick Mahomes last week, who was at the game?
He's 2025 Patrick Mahomes, not 2020 Patrick Mahomes.
But
let's see. And I guess we should mention, guys, if you do have start-sit questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. We get to pretty much any of them that pop up here as we try to do the show here. So, feel free to drop them in here. And the CFB Andy says, I hadn't heard the Arch rumor. I was debating between him and Levitt this week. Levitt wasn't in our top 30, but if I remember correctly, he's not too far off. Yeah, he's 36, and he's projected.
They're probably within like a point of each other.
Yeah, it's we have Sam Levitt projected for 27.02 points this week, and Arch for 27.58. So very, very close. There's not a lot separating a lot of these guys this week.
I would start Levitt for what it's worth. In that scenario, just because I think Mississippi State can keep up with them.
Daniel asks, Veltkamp, Jennings, and Jackson Arnold pick 2.
Who does Arnold have again? Ball State.
Ball State. I like Veltkamp and Arnold
for sure. For sure, Veltkamp. I don't think you can go wrong with Jennings or Arnold. I think with Jennings, you're saying Baylor can't contain the offense, and Baylor is pretty productive offense themselves. So you're looking at a shootout. I might go Arnold, but I that's a really tough one because I don't love the Arnold projection. With the idea that I think Deuce Knight might get some run in this game, like more run than you would get maybe out of a different quarterback. I don't know.
That's
a tough question.
Let me just state for the record that I do not trust Kevin Jennings at all, ever. And against good opposition, I just don't think he's good. So, I mean, I know he had some decent games last year. I just don't trust him. I never know when he's going to go out there and lay an egg, personally.
I would lean Arnold as well. Veltkamp for sure. I would also lean Arnold. I think the thing with Arnold is also sort of the same thing we just mentioned with Arch Manning, where it's like he did not look great as a passer in week 1. Like I could see them trying to get that passing game going a little bit early in this one. But even if they don't, Arnold ran for like 100 yards last week. Like I don't see any reason why he can't bust off a couple of huge runs.
Was Arnold going against a defense that allows a lot of rushing to the quarterback?
I mean, in week 1, yes.
Huh.
In week 1.
He's setting you up. He's setting you up.
I mean, Baylor versus Ball State against the run. I think I would take Baylor's defense.
No, he was setting you up because Jennings is going against that same defense this week, and he can also move around a little bit. It was a trap. It was a trap, Colin. You fell for
Star
it.
Wars reference. Walked right
Two
into
of them, and I don't even like Star Wars. This is wild. Guess I got Star Wars on the mind this morning. A couple other ones here. We got Mestamaker or Mateer.
Mestamaker. I mean, the floor is higher and
Yeah.
the ceiling's higher.
Yeah, I think
Agreed.
that's not too. I think Mestamaker is like pretty much a start rest of season without looking at their schedule and seeing if they have like a tough non-con game on it. And then somebody said start 2 between Jackson Arnold, Thomas Castellanos, and Austin Simmons. Could pick Aguilar up off the wire, but limited bench, so it doesn't seem worth it. Yeah, if those are your quarterbacks, I don't know that it is worth it for you.
Nah. Yeah, that's an interesting one. Simmons, for sure. Who does Florida State have again? East Texas
East
A&M.
Texas A&M, which I didn't even know was a
Only
school
Texas
until we
A&M
put this
Commerce.
together. So
They used to be
Give-
Texas A&M Commerce.
Oh, it's a cooler name. They should have kept that.
I agree.
Give me Arnold. Yeah, we do have 2 pieces of news. If
Yeah, I
you
saw.
know that we're in quarterbacks.
I saw Matty Ice just posted it in here. So we do have injury time later, but we can talk about this now real quick. Jonte Cook not warming up.
That sucks.
So I guess that makes the other receiving options there real palatable for this week. Gill and Ross Simmons. I would think about rolling both those guys out there. And honestly, yeah, I almost did a Yassine Willis higher than fantasy points play today on our underdog discussion. That is firmly in play at this point.
The other news is that Ryan Williams is not playing today.
Okay,
Ooh.
so if you
RIP to that guy in the Discord who asked this morning about Ryan Williams, Jonte Cook, or Romello Brinson. I guess it's Romello
Sounds like
Brinson
Romello Brinson. Yeah, he's Ryan Williams just is totally out. So there you go. No arguing over Jeremy and Ryan Williams, who's gonna be wide receiver 1. Looks like
cool. I have to start Jeff Caldwell somewhere now. Cool.
No doubt.
Great.
That is, he's gonna blow up this week.
You know,
Ultimate
I might due to this predicament fire Jared Palmgren. I might just fire him after this because that's his fault that this is happening.
Yeah. We're all trying to find the guy who did this.
And then one other question here that Jim asked: Veltkamp or Haynes King? That's a tough one. I don't know. You can go wrong with either of those.
I think we have Haynes King higher by like a 1/10 of a point.
Let's see. We have King higher,
Less
so
than
yeah,
10
it's probably real close. Yeah.
Both are fine. Veltkamp was not great last week, but I think he'll be fine.
Okay. All right. Let's hop over to running backs here, guys. And we'll start again with the top 15. Desmond Reed, our top projected guy this week against Central Michigan. Darius Taylor for Minnesota against Northwestern State. Miles Montgomery against NCA&T. A lot of alphabet there. Wayman Jordan against Georgia Southern. Emmett Johnson against Akron. Bryson Washington against SMU. Al-J Henderson against St. Francis. Wayshawn Parker against Cal Poly. Yassine Willis, who we mentioned earlier, against UConn. With that Jonte news, Nicholas Singleton against FIU, Dylan Edwards against that should be Joe Jackson. I think we punched the wrong name in there and I missed it. Against Army, Rashad Dubinion against Lindenwood, Jonah Coleman against UC Davis, Kyson Brown versus Mississippi State, and Daniel Highshaw versus Mizzou.
I thought Edwards was playing this week. Was he ruled out?
He was, yeah.
Oh, okay. I missed that.
They had initially said he was like doubtful to play, so I didn't see any update beyond that. But
then yeah, I would lower Jackson's projection based on that news for what it's worth. Like
okay.
I wouldn't plug Jackson into RB11. Like I would plug Jackson probably somewhere like RB like 30-ish, 35 maybe.
Okay. Noted. All right. So, any other thoughts on this top 15, Chris?
Miles Montgomery is really high. But I mean, I think you saw the usage that you wanted from him, right? Like we were wondering who the guy at UCF was going to be, and yeah, they played Jacksonville State, and he was pretty inefficient. Like he averaged 3.8 yards per carry, but he had 21 attempts and he had 3 receptions. Like that'll get it done all day, every day. So I think that there's a lot to like about his profile, and he goes up against an even easier opponent this week. So if we hit on Miles Montgomery, that'd be great because he was going pretty late, and I think you could plug him in, like start him pretty confidently. I think Waymon Jordan's gonna have a big week too. I thought he looked really good in like his limited work.
He did.
Like he looked like different than all the other backs in that roster. So I'm not particularly worried about like him long term. Maybe they don't run him as much again this week, but I don't know. You got to let him get his legs under him at some point.
Colin, any thoughts here? One of your Penn Staters here in the top 10, Singleton, after not so great showing last week against Nevada. You think a nice bounce back here for him?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to not roll Singleton out there against FIU. I mean, he can score from pretty much anywhere on the field at any time, and he had that touchdown last week too. So, yeah, I mean, I think you roll Nick Singleton out there. The worry is, does this game get out of hand? And there's like a battle for the RB3 position right now. Quentin Martin didn't play last week. He was hurt. Expected to go this week, I believe. So they may see what they have in him this week, as opposed to rolling out Corey Smith, Cam Washington, or Cam Wallace. So the worry is that they kind of just rotate guys in a little bit sooner. But, this is kind of that discussion we had when we were talking about quarterbacks. Like, when do you start these good players against soft matchups with the risk that they could get pulled early? And I think Singleton's dynamism is kind of like a separator there for that. Like, he needs one play. He can go 80 yards to the house. So,
yeah, it's because he gets like -3 yards every other run.
Hey, Saquon Barkley did that in college too.
Right?
Now he's a Super Bowl champion. So,
that is factually correct. Yep. It sounds like Jonte Cook's going to be in, by the way.
In?
Yeah, he joined practice. I think he came out of the tunnel late. The same reporter said.
Sleeping in. I get it.
Yes, Jonte Cook.
Guy just has to use the bathroom, and all of a sudden, he's like, "What? His phone's blowing up because he's not out there." Andrew asked, "Do you think Navarro, going back to the quarterbacks, outproduces his projection again? Tough matchup, but look great against Rutgers." I mean, I think if we didn't beat this home enough early, Andrew, like all of these guys are projected so high, his point projection for the week is still like 28 points. So like he might outproduce a couple of the guys in front of him, but it's still a pretty hefty weekly projection for him. I don't know that he would score that much higher than 30-ish points this week, Chris. And what your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's a better matchup than it was against Rutgers, I thought.
Yeah.
So I wasn't expecting what we saw last week. Although Rutgers defense is not really that good. I don't think West Virginia's is any good either. So I think there's a chance that happens again. Like I wouldn't be surprised if we sit here, Navarro's got another 35, 40 point week. Like that's certainly in the range of outcomes.
It's a good question. Feel free to keep them coming, folks. Anybody else here? I mean, I think all these names just like make sense. Montgomery was the only one that surprised me a little bit, but again, with what you were saying earlier, I think makes total sense for him to be in there. Bryson Washington got that meme with the guy poking the thing with a stick. Like, do something. That's kind of what I need from Bryson Washington this week. So that'd be cool.
I think he's gonna have a big day.
I kind of think so too. His underdog prop line as of last night was, I think, 78.5. That was one I was strongly considering as well.
What do we think about Dubinion moving forward?
I added him in a bunch of. He was probably my most added player this week on waivers. But as I had mentioned on Twitter, I didn't think this was a great waiver week. Like I wasn't spending more than 5-ish% on a guy, and so he was a guy that was going for under 5% a lot of places. So I got him. I mean, I like him rest of the season. At worst, it's like a flex option every week, especially with buys and injuries coming up. But with potentially more. I mean, he got a lot of touches last week. He had like 6 catches and had a decent chunk of carries as well. So
I mean, I think he's the guy there. Like I think
I think it's inarguable. It was going to be him and what's his name, and then
Roberts.
and then he went down with the injury. So
I'm excited to see what he does. I think that this number is pretty low on him. Like I have not caught all the way up, I think, on the data, and he's still top 12.
Yeah, we have him for what? And PPR projected for about 18 fantasy points this week. So still pretty good overall there against Jeff Caldwell's alma mater.
Did he graduate?
I don't know if he graduated. Former school.
Jeff Caldwell's brother's alma mater.
There we go. Did he graduate? I mean, Stetson Bennett didn't graduate. Mm-hmm. We can't assume anybody graduated here.
Well, I guess that's fair.
All right. Running back rankings, 16 through 30 for us here. And there are a couple names missing. Isaac Brown was in here amongst, maybe one or two others that have already played. Anthony Hankerson against Fresno State, Caden Durham against LA Tech, Cameron Dickey against Kent State, Dylan Jones against Middle Tennessee, Robert Henry against Texas State, LJ Martin against Stanford, Dylan Jones against Middle Tennessee. Oh boy. We got two Dylan Joneses.
Whoops.
I know what happened on this one too. We can talk about that in a second. Maurice Turner against Tulane, Deshaun Bishop against ETSU, Kedrick Riscano against Weber State, Nate Frazier against Austin Peay, Jaheim White against Ohio, Bryson Donaldson against Oregon State, Chip Trayanum against Western Kentucky, and Cameron Cook against Liberty. We do all these manually, folks. So human error, no matter how much you check them.
I think it was my bad.
It is both of our bad because you had a couple players out of row and I tried to fix it out of order, and the data might have shifted after you did it. And so
okay, so then it's not my bad.
It's
awesome.
It was a group effort on that one. So besides Dylan Jones being on here twice, what are you guys' thoughts on 16 through 30? You starting Dylan Jones twice, I guess, is the big question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a good matchup for him. I think he's the guy. I think Cameron Dickey being this high is really interesting. I thought it was going to be Jacoby Williams, and I think Dickey might be the guy.
Wow.
I mean, I think they're both.
I wonder if anyone was out there saying that. I was wondering if anybody was saying that when that happened. I don't know.
I am a little. I'm willing to see how it goes again this week. Well, this week isn't going to give us a lot of data either because it's Kent State. So we might have to wait until see what the true split is. But I have a feeling it's going to be Dickey.
Yeah, they're just very different.
I need it to be Dickey because my first two picks in the Tadpole Bowl were Mekhi Hughes and Kamari Moulton.
I thought you were going to say Cameron Dickey and somebody else.
No, so I scooped up Dickey off waivers, and I have you seen Willis.
We have waivers in that league?
You took Kamari Moulton in the second round?
That's on you, brother.
Colin.
I like Kamari Moulton, man. I like the Iowa running back situation.
No.
Oh no! I took Moulton in the third round because I took Mateer.
It's not any better.
I took Mateer in the second.
Oh boy. Okay. Everyone's gonna start specifying like Chris or Austin in these start sit questions here after they heard that. They're like, Chris, what do you think about anybody but Colin?
Chris, we're in the same league together, man.
I didn't know we had waivers in that league.
Oh.
I didn't know the Tadpole Bowl had waivers. I missed. That's besides the point.
Lost in translation over there.
I'll give you a rank I don't like. I don't like Deshaun Bishop. Like I wouldn't start him this week. I have no idea what that split really is. Like they all played and got snaps and rotated like pretty heavily last week. Bishop's my favorite, and they play ETSU. So like, I think if you start Bishop, you're probably looking at like 14 or 15 points. So maybe if you really need a floor play and you don't have a lot of other options, that split really scares me. And if they think he's the guy, then like they're not going to keep him in the game. So there's a lot of ways that I think that can go sideways.
I think one of the ones that surprises me a little bit is Maurice Turner being as high as he is this week. Now, I know he had more carries than I was expecting last week. Like he had 14 carries compared to Barnes, who had 5, and Zuberi Mobley, the FAU transfer, who also had 5. And Jake Retzloff isn't going to have like an 80-yard run like he did last week, like every week. So like I get it, but I'm still a little hesitant on Turner. Personally, I would want to see it for another week.
he also had 4 targets.
Fair, also fair.
So that's what gets him to where we are.
Some comments from the chat. Somebody said Oregon State's offensive line looked really bad last week. Yeah, I am actually inclined to agree. But I mean, it's Fresno State. I don't know, you give him one more week, and if it's bad, then he's on timeout.
Hankerson?
Yeah.
This was my concern all offseason. I didn't draft like Eddie Hankerson until the very end because they suck. I don't know. I think the usage is probably going to be there where you could probably get home just based on volume. And the schedule's pretty easy. So I think let's see this week play out. That's probably the right way to go.
Okay. Somebody said Highshaw versus Mizzou. Is that a good matchup? He's not in my lineup over Bryson Donaldson, Robert Henry, Cam Cook, or Jaheim White. I don't blame you for starting those guys over him. I have Highshaw going in a couple places, but I kind of like Highshaw.
Yeah, I think the efficiency with Highshaw is pretty good. What was Highshaw ranked? Is Highshaw ranked?
He was right ahead. I think he was like 15th. He was literally like right ahead.
Yeah,
if I remember correctly.
So
yeah, 15.
He's clearly the guy there for an offense that like really heavily features the running back, in my opinion. So I think Highshaw is probably going to get like 20 touches today. The issue is, I think Missouri's like defensive front and Kansas's offensive line, it could be like a pretty big mismatch. So I worry a little bit about that. But I mean, he's been excellent so far. Like he's got a mobile quarterback that's going to open up some stuff for him. Like it's not a bad play, like for sure. There are other directions to go, and I think those are fine.
I think I would go with Highshaw over Cam Cook, but I think that's about it. I definitely get the concern about the Kansas offensive line versus Missouri's defensive line matchup. So I get the hesitancy there, but Kansas offense looks like they're back to clicking again. And if Jaden Daniels is healthy, like that's kind of a dangerous offense. So I like the volume that you're going to get with Highshaw and the opportunity that he can, bust the bigger play over Cook this week. But the other options that you had, I like those other options more. White, Donaldson. He was one other one too.
Who does Cam Cook have? I don't remember.
Liberty.
I don't know. I don't like Cam Cook.
Jim asks Ahmad Hardy or Kawan Lacey.
I don't know. I don't really know what the split looks like in either of those backfields. Like honestly, those are like similar enough players. I think this week where like I might just flip a coin. I don't know that I have a strong opinion on it.
Hardy is our 39th ranked running back this week. He's projected for just over 14.5 fantasy points. And who was the other one? It was Kawan Lacey. He's our 53rd ranked running back, but just shy of 14 points. So really not that far off. That's a pretty tight grouping once you start getting into that group of players.
Hardy was good last week. Like I'd probably just roll him back out.
I have less confidence in Kansas's defensive line than I do in Missouri's. So that would probably make the difference for me, or at least for, front seven as a whole. And Brett asks Hollywood Smothers, he's 35th. He's just outside of this grouping with, virtually an identical projection for the week as some of those bottom guys. So you can roll him out there, I think.
My data does not really like Hollywood Smothers, and I understand why it doesn't, but I'd probably have to go in manually and adjust that at some point. It's just hard to get there based on his usage profile. Like, I was pretty surprised he had 22 carries last week. Like, that's a lot of work for a guy who's like 190. Like, I don't think he's 200. And like people have been saying he's 195, 200. I think he's closer to 190. I don't know, but maybe they're going to use him that much. They didn't really do that last year a whole lot. So we'll see. I think that's a fair criticism.
All right, guys, we're going to go take a short break here. When we come back, we'll dip into the wide receivers. I see we're already getting a couple of wide receiver questions in there, so that's good. We'll hit all of those right when we come back. So please stay tuned. And while we're gone, why don't you like the video? Let's get some likes on this video. I see there's a bunch of you watching this. Go ahead, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. We will be back with more of the Tailgate right after this. We are back from commercial. Colin, no large coffee order you had to make this morning, so we didn't have to drag that out. So good job there. And you are all unmuted, so just to catch that early.
I already had my coffee this time. Had it ready before the show. Wasn't gonna catch flack like I did last week.
Look at you. Look at you. Yeah, they say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, Colin, but look at you. You're living proof that's not true. We're going through our weekly rankings here. We're going to hop into the wide receivers. We've already done quarterback and running back, and we are taking your questions, your start sit questions in the chat, so feel free to drop him in there. We got to get to this first. Tristan, a long-time listener, first-time caller. He says, who isn't back? The Buffs. Here's to hoping that they can win this week. I know you were at the game, Tristan, so last week. So for you, sure, we'll hope they win one. We'll hope they win one just for you. Wide receiver rankings this week, guys. Jordan Tyson leading the way after a huge performance last week, and I think that was kind of expected. Jeremiah Smith at 2 against Grambling State. Caleb Douglas against Kent State at 3. Easton Messer at 4. Trent Walker at 5. Antonio Williams, that's going to be an interesting one. I think we can discuss that at 6. Junior
he's
Vander
out.
Ross. Is he out for sure?
Yeah, I thought the news was that he wasn't playing today.
I don't know. He was still in our rankings as of I don't know what time last night.
I think he got ruled out this morning.
I hadn't seen anything about him.
Maybe am I making this up?
I hadn't seen it officially yet, but you might have seen that. So we can. That's why I said we can discuss that. Cam Coleman against Ball State, Aaron Anderson against Louisiana Tech, Elijah Surratt against Kennesaw State, Eugene Wilson, Ted Hurst, Katie Hutchinson. Not the Western Kentucky receiver we would have expected. So we'll discuss that. Devin Boyson. And then, as we mentioned earlier, Ryan Williams was ruled out as of not too long ago. So unfortunately, no, we do have to make these graphics, the night before. So, just note that. I would honestly probably slot Jeremy Bernard in his slot and not feel that bad about it.
1 for 1 for me.
Chris, talk us through some of these guys in the top 15.
Yeah, Williams is unlikely to play per Pete Nagos today.
Okay.
Or Pete Thamel, sorry.
Too many Pete's. There should just be one of each name allowed.
Where do I want to start? Messer, obviously, I don't think there's a game you're going to sit him again this year. The guy had the Zay Jones experience going on. If you remember how Zay Jones was at ECU a few years ago. I guess that was a long time ago now. God, that was like 10 years ago. Anyway, I got myself I'm just old. I like Trent Walker. I think he's going to be a huge part of this passing offense for Fresno State or Oregon State against Fresno State today. He's just peppered with targets. Cam Coleman's hard to trust considering what happened last week. I think they bounce back. I think what Colin was saying earlier about getting the passing game going a little bit makes sense. So I would start him if I had him. But
okay.
We could talk. We could talk about this this Toledo West Kentucky game too. We have 2 players in the top 13.
Well, I wanted to ask you about Matthew Henry instead of Hutchinson on there instead of Matthew Henry. Hutchinson a little more of a big play guy. You think that he's the guy to start this week?
I don't know why we all just assumed that Matthew Henry was the guy, off of one data point. I listen. I really like Matthew Henry. I don't want to say that I don't think he's not the guy, but it's not super clear to me that that's the case moving forward.
Do you think there is a quote unquote guy Hutchinson only has 9 targets in 2 games. He's just obviously been very explosive and scored touchdowns with them.
Yeah. So the reason that we like Hutchinson is because the role in the offense is really interesting. They scheme him up like explosives. And I don't really know how to explain it because he operates pretty close to the line of scrimmage. But it works. I don't know. He's a really weird player. And I have trouble with him and I have trouble with Henry because of their usage in the offense. No, I don't like this Hutchinson rank, but I think he's going to play more this week than he had been. And I think we're going to see a schemed up explosives for him. So maybe this is a blind spot ranking for me. I still like him though.
I think my only gripe with this list is Eugene Wilson, as high as he is. And somebody called that out in the chat, Daniel. The usage was there for Wilson last week, but the yardage was not. And I think maybe it was a kind of more along the lines of Boise State's offensive line not being very good and USF's defensive line is better than we expected. I don't think Florida's going to have any problems here. So I think Wilson is a solid play this week, but I don't think I would trust him inside my top 12.
I mean, it's a usage question at the end of the day, right? Like how much do you think the offense is going to rely on him specifically? If the answer is not a lot, then like I agree, but I think the answer is a lot. And if I think it's going to be a high scoring team, like not like game, but like team, I think you go with him. I don't know. He's another player that I really like, and their usages is like wacky. They just pulled him so early last week.
That's fair. Vernell Brown, break year 1-0 this week. Does he get it in 2 weeks?
Did he not do it last week? How many yards?
No, he was really close. I don't think he got it.
79. Okay, yeah, you're right.
Brett says just read that Brown is out for the first half. Violation of team rules.
Brown.
He was too good last week. They were like, you can't be running deep like that. What the hell?
Out
We
for
only
USF.
have our guys run around.
Wait. Is that Byron Brown?
Oh, I was thinking he meant Vernell Brown is out against USF, but now okay. Okay.
Too many Browns.
What?
Let's we're all scrambling here, trying to find this out.
Yeah, it is. It's true.
Wait, is it?
Brett says QB. Yeah, so Byron Brown.
Oh
Wait,
no.
half.
I got duped.
It was that no 3 sports. It wasn't
got
on
duped.
3. So just
I ate the poop.
as far as I know, this is not true. So yeah, I haven't seen anybody reputable talking about it yet. Let's see. Let's see if anybody else asks any questions here. Omega Blake coming up soon. He is on page 2. So yes, he is coming up soon, approaching the pros. I know who you
Alpha
are.
Blake is on page 1.
I think you're hiding behind your thing there, Woody. See you. Let's see. Jace, somebody said I'm starting Jace Brown and Mekhi Lemon over Eugene Wilson. Yeah, I actually think I would too. I actually don't blame you on either of those.
Yeah. Agreed.
I've run out of patience with Eugene Wilson. I'm a patient man, but he's tried it.
How do you run out of patience with Trey Wilson?
Now that sounds like a young man with an edge. Something to prove.
Right?
This
That
weekend.
sounds like an explosive wide receiver.
We should have known Eugene. That's not a wide receiver name. Trey though. Now we're talking.
Eugene isn't like a guard name.
Yeah,
Or
you're right.
center, maybe.
A big guy with rec specs on that plays guard. Yeah. Todd says pick 3 at wide receiver: Matthew Henry, Mekhi Lemon, or Keegan Johnson, or Danny Scadero. Oh, sorry. Okay, this went on. Okay, pick 3: Matthew Henry, Mekhi Lemon, Keegan Johnson, Danny Scadero, Malachi Tony.
Lemon, Tony, Henry.
I think that's kind of where I'm at too.
I can't get there starting Scudero this week. I'm sorry.
Yeah, someone actually asked about Scudero, and I wanted to bring it up here at some point. So after we answer this, we can have the Scudero discussion now. Clayton had asked, do we start Scudero against Texas this week? I'm not sure that offense moves at all. Yeah, I mean, Walker E gets so bad. They might let him. He might throw it 65 times this week and not hit 100 yards. He is so bad. There's a real chance that happens. And,
I mean, you talked about the Easton Messer line from last week. I think that could be Scudero this week, honestly. Like, but you have Messer had 10 catches for 80 yards last week. Like, would not surprise me.
I think it was 10
less.
70.
Yeah,
that
could be
targets.
Scudero this week. So in a PPR league, he might have a ton of catches, but I have a hard time seeing him getting in the end zone. I have a hard time seeing him getting many yards. If I have any other options, I'm going another direction.
Somebody said thoughts on Cam Ross. I'm not gonna lie, I haven't thought about Cam Ross at all.
You know who when I loved Cam Ross 3 years ago at UConn, I thought he was the shit.
Yeah, he should have stayed there.
Well, he's obviously
he had a big week.
doing well for himself.
He did have a nice week last week, yeah.
I'm not there though. Like, I need to see another week because I don't think he's the wide receiver one there. So, like, I can't start him personally. A lot of people talk about Cam Ross this week, though.
I mean, I think he could do worse. 9 targets last week, but yeah, I mean, I'm not like ruling him out there with confidence. You know, I wouldn't put that sort of qualifier on it. Someone said I dropped Eugene for Malachi Tony in a 2 PPR dynasty league. Maybe too hasty, but give me the upside. I don't hate that, honestly. I mean, Miami will have to figure out quarterback after this year, but they've been doing that. So, you know,
they have Emory Williams, man.
Colin, stop it.
Oh God, I don't know the answer to this. I probably should. Is Malachi Tony related to Kadarius Toney?
I think so.
Well, you guys think everybody's related. So, like,
did you see? No one thought my Delhomme comment was funny last night.
Was it a black kid? Or was it a
very yes? Does not look like Jake Delhomme. Yeah, there's definitely no relation. I just couldn't believe there was another person named Delhomme. He is not related to, at least according to 24/7 Sports, he's not related to Kadarius Toney, but he is related to Antonio Brown, who is his dad. Not that Antonio Brown, but a former NFL wide receiver, Antonio Brown, who played for the Bills and now Commanders. Not that AB, although, you know, he might have a kid that old floating around up there. I honestly wouldn't be shocked.
The Hindustan Times said they're not related.
The what? Wait. The what?
It was just the first article. The Hindustan.
Okay, the Hindustan. Okay, that's what I thought you said. Who hasn't heard of that? I get that in my inbox.
That's new to me. It's out of New Delhi.
And they're talking about Malachi Tony.
Global superstar already. Household name.
Yeah. No, it's on. I mean, it's on there. It was updated like 4 days ago.
Well, because they were asking the question over there too. They saw that game last week and they're like, "Is he related to?"
Anyway,
Jesus. Nathan did ask, can you talk a little more on the case for Douglas being this high? Caleb Douglas, the Texas Tech wide receiver at number 3.
They're 49 points favorites and probably going to throw for like 500 passing yards today. Like, even if you don't believe that he's like the locked and loaded wide receiver 1, like the 4 is super high, in my opinion. Like, that's the case. And I think he's a wide receiver 1. So,
yeah,
I've seen a lot of these questions this week, in general, and I think, how do I want to phrase this? I think what's interesting about this conversation on readjusting or revisiting our priors is we only have one data point, and I think if this happened in maybe the beginning of not the beginning of the season, but like the middle of the season, and the player that you expected to be the wide receiver 1 didn't have like the wide receiver 1 target share, would you be freaking out? And I think if the answer is no, then like we have to wait another week to figure out what exactly the distribution of targets is going to look like. Because I expect Douglas to be the wide receiver 1, and he still had 5 targets, which was second on the team. So that's how he ends up here. And I think this is true of a lot of players, by the way. Like, I'm not ready to make decisions yet. Or at least, like, definitively one way or the other.
I bet the Hindu Stan would take a stand on this.
Hindu Stan Times.
Yes, thank you. And let's go to
letter the editor.
Dear editor. I put this up because somebody was asking about Miles Coleman. I knew he was on this next slide here, and he said, "Do we trust Miles Coleman?" We do. He's at 16. He's at 16 here. Anthony Smith at 17. Denzel Boston at 18 there. Chase Hendricks coming off a big week there at 19. Yannick Smith at 20. Jace Brown at 21. Xavier Thomas for LSU at 22. Kobe Paysour, I think that was an interesting one that I want to ask about at 23. Malachi Tony after that strong week there at 24. Omega Blake, somebody asked about earlier, is here at 25. David Amador At 26, Corey Rucker at 27, Mekhi Lemon, who I know several of you have asked about here, at 28, Ian Strong at 29, and then Dion Burks, the highest targeted guy at Oklahoma last week at 30. I mean, Chris, again, I'll just kind of toss it over to you. Anything? I mean, Kobe Paysor over Jordan Shipp.
That might be a data issue because I don't think he played last week, did he?
I didn't hear his name at all, but that's not surprising because their passing attack was not great.
I think he may have gotten hurt. Yeah, that could just be a data issue. Like that's a my bad situation. I do think, yeah, man, maybe I need to figure out why that ended up that way. But yeah, I don't have anything for you besides that. I think you may have. Let me look into it. Is the answer I have for you on Kobe Paysor, because I think he was either hurt or didn't get enough snaps for disciplinary reasons.
Well, how about this? We'll give wide receiver 31. Well, technically 32 because we're so nice. Kenny Johnson, wide receiver from Pitt. Slot him in there.
I like Kenny Johnson.
With Ryan Wingo and Landon Sides right behind him. Do we trust Landon Sides this week? Do you think he's actually going to play? We have him on the injury roundup that we're going to do here in a little bit. But
yeah, it sounds like he's in.
He is. Okay. Good enough for me. Colin, any thoughts on this grouping?
I think having both of the ECU guys on here is interesting. I do expect them to have a big game against Campbell. ECU. Kattenhauser was in our top QBs, so obviously we like this passing attack this week. So I don't think having both of them in here is like a bad thing at all. I'm just still not sure which one of these guys is going to be the wide receiver one. I think Yannick Smith is more talented, but that doesn't necessarily always translate to fantasy production. I think Anthony Smith is probably going to have a better day today. But I think somebody mentioned Yannick Smith earlier in the chat, like back when we were talking like QBs or running backs. So I do like Yannick Smith this week. I do like them both. I get it. I just think they're both interesting that they're in the top 20.
I mean, they're going to score a crap ton of points.
Yeah.
I'm actually pretty interested in the tight end there, which I believe he's on our tight end slide. I think both Yannick and Anthony Smith are going to have big days. They did this last year, by the way, with like Anthony Smith and Chase Sowell. Like both are productive. Even if there's not a true one, like I think you're going to get a lot from both.
So let's get some of the questions here. Somebody said Jaden Bradley for UNLV versus UCLA. I mean, I wouldn't if I didn't have to. I just don't trust them against. I know UCLA is not that great, but I don't really trust them in this.
The spread in that game is 1.5.
Dang.
Yeah. So like Vegas trusts them, or thinks that UCLA is that bad. Pick your poison. I
mean, they might be. They looked bad last week, but
yeah.
Wesco Moore top 30 with Williams being out.
Who do they have again?
Somebody
Troy.
bad. I don't remember.
Troy.
Thank you.
Yeah, probably. Like they're both like clearly startable options.
Amador, Jaheim White, 2 PPR. 2 PPR.
Wow.
Jesus, might as well pay 10 PPR there, Andrew. Dang.
2 PPR than Amador.
Yeah,
like, he gets 7 catches at 14 points.
Yeah, that's a good point. Cam Vaughn. Thoughts on Cam Vaughn this week?
Not really. Like, I don't know. I he's a player that I have a lot of trouble figuring out what exactly he is, because like clearly they want to target him. Like he's by far the most targeted option in the West Virginia offense. He had a big game. Is the offense gonna have enough production for him on a week-to-week basis to like be startable? I don't know. Like I really don't know what to expect from this offense like for the season. Like I would not start him this week unless I needed, like absolutely had to. It was in a pinch, like because I just don't. I like the player. I just don't. I don't know. I'll have a strong opinion.
All right. Somebody said Chase Hendricks or Robert Henry in the flex.
That's tough.
I think I would go Robert Henry.
I
Looked
think
good
I
last
lean
week.
Henry too. Yeah.
They said Xavier Thomas top 25. Yeah, it's an interesting discussion because which LSU wide receiver is the wide receiver 2 there. I think could vary depending on the week as well. I feel pretty comfortable after week 1 saying it's not Hilton or Nick Anderson. So
yeah,
it's Thomas or Brown.
Yeah, I think you have to make that make that decision. So the reason that we like Thomas more is because he played more snaps, than Brown did, by not a ton, but a good enough amount. And I gotta be honest, I just don't think Barry and Brown is a good player, good receiver. How about that? I just don't think he can play the position. So I'm gonna take the guy who I think can. And I think the wide receiver 2 for LSU today is going to be big, and I think you have to make the decision on who that is, and I think that's Xavier Thomas. Maybe it's Barry Brown because the level of competition is so bad that it doesn't matter. He can do his thing, but he's such a frustrating player to watch. I didn't mean to hate. I don't mean to crap on Barry and Brown. I just he's got a limited skill set.
I actually thought he was really good last week. And that touchdown, I guess according to the new letter and spirit of the rule or whatever, it's not a catch. But obviously that's, I think at least potentially up for debate. And if it is ruled a catch, that he has a pretty solid week there. I don't know. He was fairly involved.
He was fairly involved, but it was all gadgety nothing stuff.
I feel like this is a week though where he could go nuts versus LA Tech just because they're a superior team by a lot, superior athletes. Louisiana Tech just is not going to be able to keep up with him. But I understand the Xavier Thomas over Barry and Brown in terms of role within the offense.
And it wasn't like Xavier Thomas had a big week last week. I just you have how this process works is you have to assign what you think the role of a player plus target share is going to be. Yeah. And build it off the context of the game. So I have to make a decision about where the player slots in at some point, and the data is the data. I can't do anything more than that. So that's kind of how we get to odd things like Xavier Thomas is a top 25 receiver. How is that possible? Kind of Barry and Brown role in the offense is really weird. His 8 out was 2.9 last week. It's just hard to trust that kind of player. Yeah.
Anyway. We do have to keep rolling here. Let's get into the tight ends. We only do 15, so we can get through these relatively quickly. Eli Stowers, top dog here. Michael Trigg coming off his 16 targets at number 2. Justin Jolie at 3. Kenyon Sadiq at 4. Figures that we might see some higher usage this week for him. Joe Royer at 5. John Michael Gillenborg, the only player to my knowledge that we have to do this wrap the text for on this graphic at 6, and that we've ever had to wrap the text for. Jackson Warren at 7. Jack Endries at 8. Tanner Koziol at 9. Blake Bozma at 10. Gabe Burkle at 11. RJ Maryland at 12. Max Clare at 13. Daquan Wright at 14. And then Jaron Kanik at 15. Chris, you're the tight end guy and you're the guy that does the rankings. So double whammy. Any overarching thoughts here? I think the top, 7, 8, 9 of these guys feels like, what you'd expect. And then after that, some decent options as well.
Yes. Thought number 1 is I still trust Joe Royer. I had a lot of people talking about Joe Royer last week saying that we're not sure what it looks like moving forward. I really like him. Still, I don't know why that has changed. So I just want to put confidence behind there. 2, Tanner Koziol plays for Houston. So yep. I want to make sure that we are accurate on describing that situation. Also, he was awesome last week. So he's going to move up if he has another big week.
He surprised me. He was a guy I was skeptical would make the jump. And it looks like, I mean, obviously, not great opposition, but it looks like he has at least assimilated into that offense to a level that is going to make that transition work for him.
Yeah, I agree. And I didn't want to put Michael Trigg this high, but like, what am I going to do after he has like 15 targets? Like, obviously they want to feature him. So like, I don't know what to do with Michael Trigg other than just like vault him up as high as I can.
Lean into it.
Prove it otherwise. Yeah. I still think Max Clark is a good player. He had a horrible drop last week. But I think he's going to be involved in this offense still. I'm not freaking out yet.
I do just have one question because we might get people asking it. There are no Penn State tight ends on this graphic. I think we can all look at that and see that. What are we doing with the Penn State tight ends for right now? We do have Rappelier at 18 this week in our rankings, so obviously didn't make the cut. Is that, if you have to roll out a Penn State tight end, that's who you're rolling out there, not any of those other guys?
Colin, tell me if I'm wrong.
No, I don't think you are. I mean, Dinkins is going to play the most and have the most snaps out of him, but he's also more of the blocker. And this staff really liked Rappelier last year. He was the tight end 2 last year prior to getting hurt week 1. He's healthy now. So that puts a pretty big damper on Reynolds, but Reynolds is also talented enough to force his way on the field. So it's just kind of a confusing.
I don't need the Penn State homerism. I just need yes or no.
I agree.
All these
with you,
players
yes.
are good, Colin.
They're all good, and that makes it hard to trust them each week.
We even got Quentin Martin shout out on a CFF show.
Yeah.
That probably came out meaner than it should have. I'm sorry.
No, it was the appropriate amount of mean.
I'm used to it with Austin.
That's true.
I'm used to it.
That's true. I looked at the game. I looked at the game log, and like he seems to be running ahead of Reynolds in that receiving role. So like, I think that's the pecking order in targets straight up. Like, kind of sucks. I drafted a lot of Luke Reynolds.
All right. Well, let's get away from the rankings here for a little bit, guys. Feel free to continue dropping the start sit questions in there. We will try to get to them if they are in there. Let's hop over to Underdog, guys. We do have a promo code. Promo code C2C gets you a deposit match up to $250 over there. And now the best ball season, drafting season is over. How we're going to help you guys win some money. We're going to do our Underdog pick'ems every single week. Now, last week, we as a group went 8 for 9. Really, really good. Strong effort there, and a lot of them they weren't close. They weren't really sweats. So shout out to us for a good week 1. Let's see if we can run it back week 2. Colin, we'll let you lead off. You are the optimist again, all higher this week. Shocker. What do you like? Optimist. What do you like over on Underdog Pick'em this week?
Yeah, we talked about Danny Scudero during the wide receiver segment, and I wouldn't trust him in my starting lineup, but he could get that Easton Messer treatment this week where he just gets peppered with targets in and around the line of scrimmage. So over 4.5 receptions. This game script, they're going to be playing from behind the whole time. So I like him to go over 4.5 receptions. Brennan Thompson higher than 3.5 receptions. He was their wide receiver 1 last week. I believe he had 7 catches on 9 targets. This is probably going to be a close game against Arizona State. I think it's going to be a pretty high scoring game overall. So I think he's going to be involved. So over 3.5 receptions, I feel pretty safe on that one. That's probably my favorite of these plays. And then the last one I have is Trey Wisner higher than 66.5 rush yards. The worry with this one maybe is that they kind of rotate some backs and that they try and get Arch Manning on track throwing the ball. But I mean, honestly, Texas could run for 200 yards in their sleep against San Jose State. And Trey Wisner had over this number last week against a much, much better defense in Ohio State. So this line felt a little low. So I like Trey Wisner higher than 66.5.
All right, Chris, you are also an optimist this week. Colin rubbed off on you a little too much in week one. You got 3 higher plays here as well.
Yeah, I like Josiah Freeman going higher than this 36.5 receiving yards. I was just like really surprised where this number came in. I just don't really understand it. Like I know EJ Warner is EJ Warner, like that ship has sailed. Unfortunately,
that's Kurt Warner's son to you.
Yeah, well,
show some respect.
That was my guy. That's been my guy forever. So don't love that, but like to me, he's clearly the guy, and like I think this is a game that they can score in. It's their Oregon State, and so like I like will be honest, on a different platform, I have taken the alt over on his receiving lines. I think he could have a lot more. Second is kind of goes back to the discussion we're having at the beginning of the show about Kevin Jennings. I like him to go higher than this 22.5 rush yards. Jackson Arnold just had like 120 something against this team. I think Baylor has a real problem on the defensive line, and Jennings can scoot. So like, I don't know that he's going to have 100 yards, but I think 22 is like more than doable. He hit that 6 times last season. So this is a good matchup for him to do so. And I think he will run around quite a bit because the game will be close. He'll have to use his legs. And then finally is Austin's boy. Lewis Bond higher than 10.85 fantasy points. Like, I don't know. I feel like it should be at least a little bit higher than that. Like that's a touchdown and 40 yards. Like I think he can do that.
And half PPR too. I mean, he's looking at potentially double-digit targets, every single week.
Exactly. Do I wish it was full PPR? Yeah, but like, do I care? Not this case. I don't think that he's gonna have trouble producing against Michigan State secondary. So he's just like, if you're gonna tell me a guy's getting like 12 to 15 targets a week and his fantasy point line is 10.8, like I think on principle I gotta take it higher.
Yeah, I think I like that. So I actually have 2 higher thans this week, which is unusual for me. The first one's Cole Wilson, higher than 45.5 receiving yards. I love this actually. I think there's a real chance that Wilson ends up being the most targeted guy at Baylor this year over Josh Cameron, and obviously, Michael Trigg and his massive 16 targets last week. I think Cole Wilson could be that guy. He had 11 targets last week, 8 catches, 134 yards, used them in kind of a decent amount of ways. I think 45.5 in a game where I think they're going to have to, this isn't going to be a grind fest or anything. Like, I think this is going to kind of be like last week's game against Auburn. I think they're going to have to run a ton of plays and chuck the ball around. So I like that quite a bit for him. Seth McGowan, lower than 60.5 rushing yards. He's like it's a pretty solid, from what it seemed to me, 2-back rotation there between him and the dude that came over from Nebraska last year, Dowdle. Like McGowan wasn't super efficient last week, and I don't know that he's going to get the touch volume with him there to get over 60.5. So to me, lower than 60.5 rush yards makes a lot of sense for McGowan. And then Kyson Brown, he was really good last week. He didn't have to touch the ball a ton because of just game script and how everything was working out for them. But he was like clearly in terms of touch volume, the guy at running back last week. I think that continues this week against Mississippi State. So I have him higher than a rush or reception touchdown. So just to score a touchdown, I like him to do that this week as well there against Mississippi State. And in a game where I think they'll have to score some points.
This Cole Wilson stuff is really interesting to me.
In terms of like my belief in that, or just like what happened last week, or what? You're muted, Chris. There you go. Oh, and we lost Chris. That's what he gets for going against me. So that
I'll pair up with Chris though. I like that Jennings play. So I'll mention that. I'm not going to comment on Cole Wilson higher because I do agree with you on that one though.
Well, we just totally lost connection to Chris, so I think he was about to tell me that it was the dumbest thing he's ever heard. Oh, he's back. Okay.
Yeah. Does that sound right? Yeah.
You might be picking up your computer, Mike. I mean, go ahead.
All right, this should be better.
Oh, that is, yeah.
So my thing with Cole Wilson is he was third in the team in receiving snaps. I don't know that that's like a long-term thing for him.
Mm-hmm.
And it could just be like the way the game broke down. Like he was still behind Hawkins, he was still behind Josh Cameron. Oh, I was counting Michael Triggin there. So he is on the field in 3 wide receiver sets, but Cameron played 52, Hawkins played 59, and Wilson played 40.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I just wonder what his role is long term. I mean, he had the most receiving targets, so obviously they are using it. It's just interesting.
And those were just pure pass snap counts, right? You were saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I see 78 and 70 for Cameron and Hawkins, and then he was at 51. So yeah, I mean, I just think they roll 3 wide receivers out there enough that not too worried about it. All right, so I think it's a good thing that you were able to come back here, Chris, because I think next up on the list here is your betting picks for the week. So we'll get the graphic off here. We'll talk Chris's picks. Oh, look at that, Chris, in style. Let us know what you're looking at here today.
Yeah, so last week we went 2-1. Why? I don't know why I picked Oregon State. I made the pick and I was like, you know what, this is so stupid, and they got crushed. So that's on me for even thinking that Oregon State's real. But 2-1, you can work with that any week. I got 2 this week, unless this Baylor number is still available. So let's start with the one that I definitely have. I like Ole Miss this week. The number is kind of ping-ponged between 8.5 and 9.5 a little bit in the last few days. It's good to 10. I think I don't think the market is baking in how bad Zach Calzada is still. I really don't.
He's so bad. He's so
terrible.
Bad. The fact that Kentucky went and got him out of the portal is hilarious to me.
I just don't think the office is doing that. And I think Kiffin wants to kind of run up the score a little bit here. This is a game that he lost last year, and I think you're gonna see him put a pretty big effort into this one. I like Ole Miss, like I said, like Ole Miss up to 10. I have the worst number here, and because it was higher earlier in the week. But some people are on Kentucky. I don't see it personally. Other number I like is, this is a really interesting game to play, is this UAB Navy game. Because I think there's a lot of ways you can go with this. I think the over is interesting. I think UAB as a spread is kind of interesting. But I'm going with the Navy first half team total. I think Navy's going to run it up on them. I think anybody can score on UAB. And I think Navy's do a lot of that in the first half. They pull back in the second half quite a bit. Usually they did last week against VMI. So I think they get a good chunk of their stuff early. And asking 3 touchdowns doesn't honestly seem that crazy from a Navy offense that we know can score, is pretty unique, and UAB is bottom 3 defense in the country. So I like this Navy number in general. I waited forever for this to come back down in terms of juice. I think it's 125. What is the Baylor number available at 3 anywhere currently?
I got it on DraftKings at 3, probably about 2 hours ago.
I haven't been watching the board this morning, so I don't want to give out a stale number if that's not still the case. Yeah, okay. 3 at DraftKings minus 112. 3's at 3.5's out there at FanDuel as well. So I don't know. I don't get the SMU stuff this week. I just think Baylor's a better team, and I think people are overreacting to a bad performance against an Auburn defense, and especially front that's pretty good. I think Baylor can score. I think Baylor's defense is probably not quite as bad as it showed last week. I think maybe some of that was first game jitters. I don't know. I just think they can score. And if I think they can score, I think they have a leg up on an SMU offense that I think is good. And I don't love Kevin Jennings either. So if it's a shootout, I'm going to put my trust in Sawyer Robertson, not Jennings. So, and they can still lose, right? That's what's so great about getting a field goal here. So I don't know. I like Baylor. I really don't understand how this line opened up at 5.5 either. This is just a really fishy game. I don't know. I still did it, even though it's probably stupid, but oh well.
All right. Well, thank you, Chris, for that. We're going to toss this over to Corey. He gives us his pre-recorded Devy segment every week, and then we're just going to take a real short break after, just a minute or two. And when we come back, we'll do some injury roundup, some injury watch, and then we'll get into Matt's picks as well as our own. And I did see that he kept it under 5 minutes this week, guys. So
4:59.
Basically it was, yes. By the time he said goodbye, it was 5:01, but I let him have it. So, all right. So we're going to toss Corey on here. He's going to give you a breakdown on what to watch for from a Devy perspective here this week. And then, like I said, we'll take a real short break and then come back on the other side of it. This is the Tailgate. All right. Looks like we're having some technical issues with the volume. So I guess no. I'll see if I can get that working here.
Break first.
Do we want to go to a break first? Yeah, we'll play around with it a little bit.
Backwards.
See what we can do. Yeah, we'll do break first. How's that sound, guys? All right, we'll be back. All right, we are back from break. Welcome into the Tailgate, brought to you by CampusToCanton.com. We're getting close to kickoff here. We got about 20 minutes left. We're going to try this one more time on the video, and if it doesn't work, then we officially blame Colin. That's how we do things here. So let's try this one more time, and away we go.
Is going on, Campus to Canton family? Corey Pereira here from the Campus to Canton Devy team, and we are back with another edition of the Devy session. Week 1 is officially in the books, and what a better time than to overreact to everything we saw from Week 1. Let's go. Is Texas quarterback Arch Manning a bust? Now, I'm not really ready to say that, especially after they played potentially the number 1 defense in the country, but it definitely wasn't a debut we were expecting from the potential number 1 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. Well, I guess after this week, a lot of people are probably saying the potential number 1 overall pick in the 2027 Draft. Now, I don't know if it's just a little bit of the nerves or a little bit of the hype getting to him and, the biggest matchup of Week 1 that it was built up to be, but he just wasn't reading the field really well. He wasn't leading his receivers down the field. Seemed like he was processing things a touch slow. His footwork seemed frantic. He seemed like he always wanted to get outside the pocket and wait for somebody to get open. 56% completion percentage was not what we were expecting, but there was some underlying metrics there that seemed to stand out with him. He had the most big-time throws in the Power 4 last week. He had the highest big-time throw percentage. We got to see him move around a little bit with his feet, and he really wasn't getting a lot of help from his wide receivers. And in a game like this, you need somebody to kind of step up to take some pressure off your first-time starter at quarterback. Now, this is probably a case where I'm not really overreacting just yet, but let's just hope Arch Manning settles in over the next couple weeks. Now, Week 1 brought us a nice performance from the potential wide receiver 1 in next year's draft class with Arizona State's wide receiver Jordan Tyson. But there's a lot of names vying right now for that wide receiver 2 spot, and we saw some nice performances this week headed towards that direction. Starting with USC wide receiver Mekhi Lemon, who had a little bit of a cupcake matchup against Georgia Southern, but was still able to show off with a nice 7 catch for 90-yard performance. Or a guy like Antonio Williams, who unfortunately got hurt in last week's game, so we weren't really able to see much from him, but he's a guy who's getting a lot of buzz in some NFL circles right now. And then there's almost the forgotten name in Devy circles right now, but Jeremy Bernard went off in Week 1 for the most yards in the Power 4, 12 targets, 8 catches, 146 yards, 3.11 yards per route run, a 14.4 yard ADOT. And this was something that me and Mike talked about on Back to Devy this offseason, that it wasn't the craziest theory to think that Jeremy Bernard could sync up better with Ty Simpson. Now, there's still the upside argument with Jeremy Bernard. He's had a lack of touchdowns while he's been in college. And can he actually be a wide receiver 1 at the next level? But this is a really good start to the season, and I could see him having a really big year if this is how it's going to go. Now, we definitely couldn't go through this session without hitting on the freshman debuts from last week, and we had a lot of great ones. And unless you've been living under a rock, you definitely heard about Cal quarterback Jaron Q. Seguitele's amazing debut against Oregon State last week. 20 for 30 passing, 234 passing yards, 3 touchdowns to 0 interceptions, and that wasn't even the most impressive part of the game. The most impressive part to me was how much they were just willing to put on the plate for this true freshman starting in his first collegiate game. He was throwing the ball all over the field, and there wasn't even that many scheme touches to it. The lefty quarterback also scored the number 1 PFF grade for passing in the entire country last week. That's not even just for freshmen, and had the second most big-time throws in the entire country. He's definitely set himself up on a nice trajectory going forward, but don't sleep on the debut from Maryland freshman quarterback Malik Washington over the first 2 weeks of the season. Now, we got to see him against NIU on Friday night as well, where he registered another fairly clean game. Over his first 2 starts, he's accounted for over 500 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, 0 turnovers, and 0 sacks. His completion percentage is a little bit spotty. He isn't putting the ball in harm's way a lot of the time, and that's something I can hope he can really clean up as the season goes on. He's a really tracy kid at 6'5", 230 pounds, really prototypical build, a big arm, and he's shown enough through the first 2 weeks to register himself as a top 25 quarterback for me in Devy right now. Now, week 1 also brought us our very first year 1-0 breaker in, you guessed it, Oregon wide receiver DeCorian Moore, who broke it on this 16-yard rush right here. But the next closest in line is actually coming from an unlikely source, in Florida wide receiver Vernell Brown III, who started to fall under the radar a little bit with the hype that fellow freshman wide receiver Dallas Wilson was getting out of the offseason. But Vernell Brown actually had a pretty high ranking early in the offseason, especially for our recruiting team who had him as a top 5 wide receiver in our supplemental draft guide. He's really not unlike his teammate Eugene Wilson, especially when it comes to open field and being used in similar ways, but he's already shown a little bit more promising versatility in one game than we've seen from Eugene in 2 years. An 18.3 yard ADOT, 3.95 yards per route run, and a 60-40 split on the outside and in the slot. He isn't quite the same athlete as Eugene, but still a 65th percentile athlete in our database. And I still expect Dallas Wilson to make an impact at some point, but Vernell's arrow is definitely pointing up right now. Alright guys, that's all the time we have for this week, but there's so much more I'm looking forward to in week 2. Can Mekhi Hughes get on the field for Oregon? Can Elijah Thomas make an appearance for Oklahoma? Can Jeremiah Love bounce back from an ugly game last week? All of that can be covered heading into next week, so make sure you guys are keeping it locked on the Back to Devy podcast every Wednesday morning on the Campus to Canton podcast feed, the #1 Devy podcast on the Campus to Canton Devy feed, and make sure you guys are keeping it locked with CampusToCanton.com all season long.
Thank you, Corey. How many takes do you guys think he has to do on that? Like, it's pretty impressive that he puts that together every single week. I'm not gonna lie.
He does a lot of the editing too.
Yeah,
so I'm guessing, or he does all the editing. Sorry, I don't mean shortchange you, Corey. But it's pretty impressive.
No editing.
Yeah, good stuff.
One take,
just rolls it straight through. I'd be impressed.
To Warner.
All right, let's do an injury check-in real quick, guys, and we're gonna just let Matt make his picks here before we get into ours on some of the bigger games this week. We had already mentioned some of these. Ryan Williams is out this week. Antonio Williams looks like he is out as well. Jonte Cook missed early warm-ups, but it sounds like he is playing and should be mostly fine. Baron Morton is supposed to start and should be fine. Trey Wisner been ruled out. Damon Claiborne game time decision. What do we think about Damon Claiborne? If you have him, what are you doing? Corey says
so they're 19-point favorites against Western Carolina. I don't know that I would trust him. To be totally frank, so it's a rib injury. Like, how many carries are you gonna get? Probably not a lot.
Put a second set of pads on him. Should help.
Yeah, I agree. And somebody in the chat too said he's not playing. So
okay.
So I mean, I wouldn't play him even if he was potentially going to go in this one because of what Chris said here. I wouldn't trust him. Georgia Tech doesn't look like a great team, Wake doesn't look like a great team, but they should still roll Western Carolina.
Maybe. I think they could lose to Western Carolina here nor there.
Real quick, College Game Day just posted something on Twitter that I'm assuming is a piece that they played today during the thing. Ernest Hausman is one of 23 siblings. How?
Was his family farmers?
I guess they're from Uganda.
Oh, I have no idea.
He would definitely stand out in the Amish community, Colin. I know you live in Amish country. Interesting.
Jordan Hudson's also out for SMU. He got injured last week.
Okay. Any other names that we've seen floating around this morning? I think that's like most of the bigger ones that I've been trying to follow along with and see.
Gavin Sawchuk is taking starting reps.
Is he?
Nope. Don't like that.
I mean, it's almost chroma time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting close.
Landon Sides is somebody I'm watching pretty closely. I have a decent amount of Landon Sides, so I'm hoping he goes in this one. because there's one league where I don't have auto subs, so I'm real dicey, back and forth. Him or Draylon Miller. Don't love Draylon Miller.
All right, we're gonna pick our 5 games for the week real quick. Matt did give us his 5 picks, and like I said, he did keep it under 5 minutes this week. I'm very, very proud of him. So we're gonna toss him up here real quick, and then we will be right back. We're no break in between. We'll come right in and make our picks, and then get you guys to game day. So here we go.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Matt's Matchups. Hit that like and subscribe button as Colin, Austin, and Chris, I think are all there today, are killing it on the Tailgate. Again, one of the best college pregame shows in all of the business. Again, I wish I could be there with you guys, but I'm on location. I'm in Colorado, maybe. Who knows where I am? Nobody really knows. All we know is, and unfortunately, I'm not in the studio. Austin is going to fire me if I do not keep this under 5 minutes, so we are going to work faster to get this done. So we're going to start with Baylor SMU. SMU is getting 2.5 points. Over under in this one is 64.5. I actually think this game could be a lot of fun. SMU has a lot to prove in this one. Coming in against a Baylor team that we thought was going to be very good, and they returned a lot of players. 66.9% returning production. They're number 10 in the country. Really good offense with Baylor, but that defense is struggling. I really want to see if Kevin Jennings can take that step forward. Kind of that last big game matchup they had against Penn State in the playoffs was kind of disappointing. I do think SMU finds a way to win this game, and if they do, it could put Dave Aranda on the hot seat there in Baylor. The second game we're going to talk about is Oklahoma State versus Oregon. Why? Why are we talking about this game? Because Mike Gundy decided he wanted to talk all kinds of trash about the way that Oregon runs their program. Erroneous on both counts. It's not erroneous. He talked a lot of trash. And look, if you've ever seen the movie Wedding Crashers, it sounds like the Cowboys are going out there and they want to decimate the duck population because it is decimating the grub worm population out in that area. Erroneous on both counts. But I mean, come on. Oregon is getting 27.5 here, and I think Oregon's going to win by bigger than that. If you did not see Dan Lanning's clap back, it was amazing. I actually think I have a clip of the press conference right here.
Because we are ducks, and ducks fly together.
That's right, Jan. And just when you think they're about to break apart, ducks fly together.
And when the wind blows hard and the sky is black,
ducks fly together.
And when the roosters are crowing and the cows are spinning circles in the pasture, ducks fly together.
Ducks do fly together, and I think the Oregon Ducks are going to destroy the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Give me 50 in this one. Dan Lanning is not playing around. Look, Oklahoma State's defense is off to a horrible start. They are ranked 128th right now, 132nd against the pass, 133rd against rushing. Oregon's offense, 4th in the nation, 9 passing, 27th rushing. Oregon is going to roll the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Kansas, Missouri, I think, is a very sneaky matchup this week. Missouri is getting 5.5, and I don't know if that's just because people got drunk watching Bo Pribula play nobody last week, and he was actually throwing the ball. Not really sure, but Bo Pribula, I still believe, is not a good quarterback. However, I do think this Missouri team is still a very good team, and I do think that they're going to be able to get the ball running. Ahmad Hardy, who I claimed earlier this year was not going to have a good year, congratulations. He made it over 100 yards, I believe, against an FCS opponent. I don't think he's going to actually be able to do that against a good Kansas team that is now 3 weeks into their season. And so far, we have seen Jalen Daniels be able to stay healthy. As long as I don't see shots of him on the sideline, getting his shoulder worked out or his leg worked out, I think Kansas is actually going to beat Missouri here. I think they're just straight upset. Kansas right now is rocking with one of the best offenses in the nation. And sure, they have a couple games under their belt, so maybe that gives them a little bit of an advantage, but they're ranked number 2 offense for us, C2C winning edge with 26 in passing, 2nd in rushing. Now, Missouri did bring back a lot of production and on that defense, so maybe they'll be able to challenge Kansas here. But I really like what Kansas is doing in Jalen Daniels. I think that they're going to be able to win this one. But the big one, the end of the night on Saturday night, I'm sure Austin and myself will be going live College Fantasy tonight. Make sure to check it out as Michigan goes to Oklahoma to play the Sooners, and the Sooners are getting 4.5 points here. Look, Michigan is returning a lot of players. They're 61st in returning production. That's 33rd in the nation. That's still pretty good. It is a brand new offense. If you were to go look at their offensive rankings, they would not look pretty, but they brought in Bryce Underwood. Justice Haynes was running over everyone last week. Alabama wishes they kept Justice Haynes. He is now with Michigan doing all kinds of great things. The over-under in this one is 44.5. I don't know that we go over that. Here's the thing. Michigan is really good against the pass and really good against the run, but I'm kind of liking John Mateer. We've been talking about this a lot at this company over the past couple of months, that Oklahoma could be kind of one of those fake teams. They're getting a lot of hype for nothing. But what I saw out of Michigan last year on this offense and defense, I don't know that they're able to keep up with Oklahoma. So give me the Sooners to pull off the upset against that team up north. That's it. I'm out. We're under 5 minutes, guys. Enjoy the rest of the tail.
Thank you, Matt. He did it. And actually, it's really funny. I was on the streaming platform at the time he was doing that and poked into the background that he saw me. I think that spurred him through the back half of it. All right, guys, let's pick our games here real quick. We've got about 7 minutes to do so. Baylor at SMU. We pull these lines from DraftKings like late last night. So we have SMU's a 3-point favorite is what we're picking against here this week. Chris, you were talking a little bit about this game earlier. You like Baylor?
I do. All the reasons I gave earlier. I think Sawyer Robertson is a phenomenal quarterback, and I think he can easily dice up the Baylor defense. He had no problem doing it against SMU defense. He had no problem doing it against a better defense in Auburn last week. I don't think SMU has the dudes that Auburn had to push at the line of scrimmage that the advantage was so massive for. I think it gets normalized here. So give me Baylor. I like Baylor to win, but especially with the 3.
I agree. I like Baylor outright. I just think they're a better team, but getting those 3 points is definitely big. So I'm definitely taking Baylor in this one.
I'm going to take SMU. I just think Baylor has some issues defensively. I think this is going to be a shootout. I like SMU in this one. I'll go against the grain. I'll do it. I'll be that guy. Iowa at Iowa State. Iowa State 3.5 point favorites. As actually across the board, I think we all like Iowa here, right? I mean, Chris, you like Iowa?
I do. Listen, I'm the Mark Gronowski guy. Was not impressed last week. Was actually quite concerned. I think we're going to see a little bit more like stuff from Iowa. I think they kept that pretty under wraps last week. So 3.5 is a lot of points in a game that I don't think is going to be high scoring, and an Iowa State offense that doesn't really have any receiving weapons. So I think Iowa can keep this close. And again, right, I don't know that Iowa's going to win. Like, you're giving me 3.5. Like, I think I'm going to take the Hawkeyes.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. I think if you ask me to pick just straight up, I might lean Iowa State just because I know we mentioned they don't really have any receivers, but those tight ends are pretty good. And Rocco Becht is just like a gamer. He's like the type of dude who's going to put the game on his shoulders on the last drive. But getting those points, I'm going to take Iowa.
Never get involved in a land war in Asia. Never go in against a Sicilian when death is on the line. Iowa quarterbacks. What were you thinking, Chris? What were you thinking? But I do like Iowa this week as well. Illinois, number 11 Illinois at Duke, and still 2.5 point favorites. This is one of those fishy lines that makes me actually think that Duke's going to win this outright, but we've all got Illinois.
I think Illinois. I think Derry Mintz is a really good quarterback, like really good. I think Illinois secondary can slow him down, and if they can slow him down, I don't think Duke has any answer. Like, a way to come back. Like, Mensa isn't a runner. Like, he can run, but he isn't a runner. So I don't think that. Like, I don't think there's a world where Mensa's running for 100 yards, and like his legs need to be a big part of the game plan. So I think Duke's going to struggle to put up points on the secondary.
I do think Duke's really sneaky here. I like Mensa. I like this passing attack. I think they have a couple of backs that they can rotate in and do something with. I don't know what this defense is going to look like. And because this is under a field goal, I'm taking Illinois here. If I was getting over a field goal, I might lead Duke because I think this will be a close one.
Yeah, I think all those points are fair. Yeah, I like Illinois in this one as well. Yeah, and not a blowout, close game. Ole Miss 9.5 point favorites here against Kentucky at Kentucky. Chris, you didn't put a pick down, so but I guess you did it
It's
above.
above.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. No, I like Ole Miss here.
Yeah.
I think that I had Kentucky Toledo under last week because of Zach Calzada. I have Ole Miss to cover because of Zach Calzada this week.
Yeah, I know there's like a narrative floating around out there, like Lane Kiffin's 1-4 in his last SEC openers, and he lost to Kentucky last year. But I think that's just gonna be motivation. I think they're gonna crush Kentucky here, and they're gonna run it up.
Yeah.
I like this comfortably, Ole Miss.
I like Ole Miss as well. Let's get one more start sitting here real quick, guys. Just give the name Javon Ducker, Javon Jackson, or Anthony Hankerson. Pick two.
Hankerson, although I am interested in Ducker's usage moving forward.
Okay, so Hankerson.
Yeah, it says pick two. Hankerson, I would probably lean Ducker over Jackson as well.
Yeah.
All right, real quick, guys. Michigan at Oklahoma, the big one this week. Oklahoma, 4.5 point favorites. I like Michigan actually to cover. I do. I know it's at Oklahoma. I just don't trust Oklahoma's offensive line. I think that's going to be a source of issues for them all offseason. And I think Michigan's one of the few, not the few teams because they're in the SEC, but I think a team that can take advantage of that and make life very difficult for them today offensively.
I have Michigan. I basically the same handicap, which is they didn't get Oklahoma's offensive line couldn't get any push last week, and like that was an FCS team. What happens when you have one of the best D lines in the country? I think it could be a real problem for Mateer, who we have never seen John Mateer play well against a Power 4 opponent. By the way, just saying.
I think that's all very fair. I can't bring myself to pick Michigan, so I'm going to take Oklahoma here. I'm going to trust the fighting John Mateers. I also think Michigan doesn't have anything in the passing game here, so Oklahoma's defense probably loads up to stop Justice Haynes. Can Bryce Underwood win this game? I'm not sure he can.
All right, guys. Well, thank you to everybody for tuning in to this week on the Tailgate. Good luck in all your matchups this week and everything else. Matt Bruning and I will be on again live tonight right around 10:30 Eastern, wrapping up the day in college football. Again, thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next week.